Hey folks, Steve Gallia from Algonquin Fly Tying Supply. Today we're going to do a generic nymph pattern that utilizes turkey feather. This is from wing secondary feather. Uses dubbing, whatever you like. In this case I'm going to use olive hare's ear plus, which is a blend of hare's ear and antron. I've got a little sparkle to it, so I like that. And your thread, and also a bit of wire of your choice. In this case I'm using a fine green wire, but you can use a copper wire or whatever suits you. It's a generic pattern, kind of play around with it, have a little bit of fun. So really it's very simple. You start off by laying your thread base, leaving plenty of room on the eye as always. And again, I always, for this pattern, I'm going to bring my thread right across to the barb of the hook. You can remove that barb if you so desire, but that's a good reference point when I'm tying, so I leave it on to start. Then I'm going to pull out about 3 or 4 fibers. 3 would be perfect. From here, from this feather. Clip it, and that's going to form my tail. So I'm going to turn it over. I kind of want, I may want the curl end up. It doesn't make that much of a difference. Typically you measure about the shank of the hook length and then go about maybe 2/3 back. At least that's what I do. So 1, 2, 3, 4 soft loops just to make sure it's positioned correctly. That looks good enough for me. Try to keep it on top. And then just sort of cinch it down a little, tighten it more and more and more and more until back and forth until you've got that secured very nicely. Again, basically opposite your barb. That looks good. Clip off the excess. There it is. So you're in position again, and this time for the wire. So pull off a small strip of wire. It doesn't require much actually. You know, you're going to only wrap it up to about 2/3. So I'm going to pull off a small bit of wire. This is going to provide ribbing, but mostly counterwind and protect the turkey that's about to come on. So I'll again tie the wire up top, make sure it's secured nicely and hanging out back, and there we go. The next step is basically going to form the bulk of the fly. You're going to go to your turkey feather again and pull out 9 or 10 fibers. And clip it very, very close to the actual spine of the feather. What we want here is a really long, thick feather, which we're going to tie on over the top with soft turns at first, and really cinch it down. It's important to make sure this is not going to come loose, because this is going to be the remainder of your fly essentially. So once you've got that down and to the point where you're very happy of how secure it is, half hitch your thread up front. If you've got a bobbin cradle, bring it forward, and then take this turkey feather and we're going to wrap it. And remember the way you wrap it, because you're going to counter wrap the wire the other way. So wrapping it, and as you can see, the way it was cinched down and pinched, it naturally forms a tapered body as you go forward. So that's important, because you want to get that sort of tapered look. And when you get it to the point where you think you want to start your wing case, which is right about there, hold it up top, bring your bobbin cradle over, manage your thread so it's a nice short thread, and try to avoid your camera. Do about 2 or 3 turns behind that. When you're good that way, go in front, and it should be standing up the way it is. And there you go. Next thing you do is I brought my turkey fibers that way. I'm going to bring my wire the other way. So a few turns of this, and what that does is it really makes this fly more durable and provides just a bit of segmentation, which is kind of nice. Although it's pretty hard to see. If you use a thicker wire, you'll get a much more defined and visible segmentation to your eye. I'm not sure it makes a difference to the fish. So there you go. There's your wire in place. That turkey feather's protected. We can you could probably helicopter that wire out, but my camera's too close, so I'm just gonna clip it. And the next step is to get your dubbing. So I'm going to pull out a small length of wire or thread so I can dub that, and a fairly generous amount of dubbing. And you want a scraggly dubbing too, because then you'll be able to pick out what looks like legs on it. So there's a good start, and I'm going to wrap back first. I want to really make sure my wing case is back as far as it should be, which is about there. And then when you run out of dubbing, get a little bit more. Again, be generous with it. It's not expensive stuff, but it will make the fly. And come forward. That looks good. Then I'm going to take these feathers, these fibers, and I'm going to try to hold them together on top. And then I'm going to bring my thread down over it. Have a look. It looks good to me, but make sure I'm going to adjust so they're try to keep the fibers together, not separate. And 2, 3 turns there behind. 1, 2, 3, 4 in front. I'm now going to half hitch in front of these fibers that are standing up, just so if it comes loose, I'm not going to lose all the work I've done. And then very quickly trim these off as close as I can. Also trim off whatever fibers are sort of in front of the hook eye at this point. Now the next step and the last step is just to make a head with this. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to make it a large head, but big enough to throw glue on. So there's a nice little head that's been made on that. I'll get my whip finishing tool, and we'll give it maybe a 3 to 4 turn whip finish, just so I don't add too much more bulk to that head. There it is. And there's a nice whip finish on that fly. It's looking good. I'll start clipping out the longer fibers that are sticking out front and top. I will now finish the fly by just putting a drop of glue on the head, but I'll also, and this is kind of a personal preference, you may or may not want to do this, but I like putting glue over the wing pad as well, because it again makes the fly a little more shiny and durable, and that's good. And that's my cat Mumbles deciding to ruin my video, but we're not going to let that bother us. So there's a pretty well complete a nymph once that dries. Again, what you want to do with this as well is get all that nice dubbing and sort of pick it down a bit too, to to give it that leggy, buggy kind of look, And when you do pick it down, if things are a little bit long and maybe going a little bit too far, you can just trim them off until you get it the way you like it. But that's a really neat little pattern there. You can see the wing case in the top, and also if you want, you can separate the legs to give it that 3 nymph tail split there, and there it is. It's a nice little generic pattern. You can play around with thoraxes, you can play around with the wires, you can obviously make it a bunch of different sizes, but you keep a few of these in your fly box. Are good searching patterns, and when you get it right, depending on the darkness of the turkey feather too, you have a little bit of variety in your nymphs. So that's a pattern. I hope you enjoyed it. Steve Gallia for Algonquin Fly Tying Supply. Visit us at algonquinflytying.com. Thanks.